Time for a weekly conversation with Kyle Davis, head coach of the Florala Wildcats. Coach, you have now reached legendary status. There may be a song written about you. Big win last Friday night over Brantley.
Yeah, man, it was. It was electric. It was just. Our kids, man. I'm just so proud of what they did, what they accomplished. I don't think right now, and even me. This is my first year at Florella, and you've had guys that have been there for 10 years that weren't, didn't get to accomplish this. So, probably on the level of importance and that. It probably hadn't all even sat in with me. And I know my kids probably don't really, understand the weight maybe that was kind of lifted off of the entire program. But man, they just so proud of it, man. So proud of their effort, proud of their play. It was. We've talked the last couple of weeks about how Bayshore Christian was pretty, pretty clean, and Kinston was a pretty clean game, and just execution. But we kind of knew that the level of talent we were playing against, that we were better. We had a higher level of talent, and so getting out there against Brantley and kind of seeing the same kind of gameplay, is real encouraging to us as we kind of head down this home stretch.
And let me say, too, I think maybe what's also not understood is that in these small communities, the high school is such an integral part of the community. So this wasn't just a win for your program. It was a win for the city of Florala, for this community. And you did, and I know you're going to be one of those to defer to assistant coaches and players, but there have been 15 head coaches since the last win over Brantley. So you had to have played a role, coach.
Well, a lot of people asked, and they said, we went in. It was 14-6. We went in down 14-6 at the half. Very similar feeling, I think, kind of the Brantley maybe on the outside looking in. As Georgiana was on the outside looking in, and they were like, what'd y'all do different? What was it that was done differently? And man, I've told everybody nothing. Our kids decided that. Man, we went into halftime and it wasn't bad body language and assistant coaches. We weren't like giving the David and Goliath speech, because that's not where we were. We were talking about small adjustments that we maybe, and not adjustments, maybe miss block here or a misfit there on defense, and the kids were talking back and forth to each other and just kind of saying, hey, this is what we're seeing, and talking to coaches, having open communication with coaches, and really just kind of came up with a game plan of hey, let's do more of what we've been doing, but let's just execute it to an even higher level than what we were. And yeah, man, you've got guys like Coach Green that's been there for years, and Coach Bass is a grad from there, and Demetrius is a graduate from there, and Dustin's a graduate from there, and none of those guys, got to experience it. So, on a personal level, man, I'm just so happy and proud for those guys. Again, I've said on here before, they kept the ship going when there wasn't a guy, a captain, and then they kind of took the role and took the reins, and they were able to keep these guys on board and keep them doing the things they're doing. So, obviously, I do think that there's a touch that I put on our program. Obviously, I think every head coach that comes in and leaves a thumbprint or an imprint of some sort on a program. But consistently, those men, that have been around it forever and been a part of it in their entire history. I loved it for them and the boys for sure.
I hadn't thought about it until we began talking. Is it possible, because we know that psychology plays such a large part in any ball game, in any athletics, but is it possible your son is also a newcomer to the program, so he really, not growing up here, wasn't totally familiar with that just drive, to overcome this 35-year drought against Brantley? Did that kind of play a positive role, possibly?
Well, one of the keys in the game, I feel like, was we threw the ball so well the two previous games, and I really felt like they thought that we would come out and throw the football. And if you've been around us, we're more of a throw to set up the run than run to set up the pass kind of team anyway. And about middle of the second quarter, Gage comes up to me and said, "Dad," he said, just keep running counter. He said they're bailing out. They're thinking we're throwing, that they're dropping, and they're leaving, 5 in the box. And Rayshawn came up and kind of said the same thing. And so yeah, I think maybe from that standpoint, maybe he was just looking at it as, hey, how are we going to make a strategic adjustment right here? I mean, we do pretty well, I think, communicating during the game, except when I'm yelling at him for him messing up, But other than that, I mean, we communicate pretty well. Like I said, he's been around the offense for a while. He kind of understands, what's going on with it. And then he just knew Rayshawn, man. They weren't stopping him once. And again, I think our effectiveness throwing the football in the 2 previous games really played into that, because I think, again, going in, I think they watched the film and they said, you know what? We're not going to let 10 beat us. We're not going to let 8 and 5 beat us through the air. We're not going to do that. We're going to force them to run the football because we don't think they can block us. And obviously, as I've stated, man, time and time again, I told our team today, if we go on and win it all, our offensive line's our MVP, because, I mean, you talk about a rags to riches kind of story. I mean, that bunch has gone from just giving up 7, 8, 9 sacks in the first game of the year to this past week. I mean, they enforced their will, and it was a good thing to see.
It is interesting that a week ago you said there's still the possibility you could have 4-4-2 teams at the end of the year. This week, you've got Elba taking on Georgiana. Obviously, you're rooting for Elba. And then you've got Brantley taking on McKenzie. Isn't that kind of an odd twist that now you're going to be rooting for the team that you so badly wanted to beat last week? You want Brantley to knock off McKenzie.
Well, I mean, it unfortunately for us, with the tiebreak situation, we really got to pull for McKenzie to beat Brantley. That's what we got to pull for, because, like you said, if it was a 4-team tie, but we can actually be looking at a 5-team tie at the end of this thing, and so we're pulling bad for Elba to win, and we need Brantley to win. But the biggest thing that I think right now, Robert, man, and I've told a lot of people this, we are. I don't know at the mentality we're at right now, and the level of confidence, not cockiness now, but just confidence, believing in the kind of team that we are over these last 3 weeks. I don't know if that, it doesn't really matter who we're going to end up playing. We feel like we can beat that team. And so we want, everybody's best when they're their best right now. And so I've told everybody this, and I know Region 1 with Sweetwater and Millry and Leroy, that's a tough region, don't get me wrong. But for 5 teams to have all been in the top 10 at some point in time during this season, this region, and I played in the region with Fife and Pisgah and Collinsville, and some really tough ones, and up in North Alabama. But I'm telling you, I don't know if I've ever been in a more talented, more competitive, where anybody can win on any Friday kind of region than this one right here, because it's a tough one.
You got Red Level coming up this Friday night, and I don't want to take anything away from Red Level. Any team can win on any given night, but they are not one of the top-tiered teams in the region. So 2 questions. One is that a little bit of a plus to not be taking on an Elba, right after a Brantley? And the number 2 question is there the possibility of a letdown?
Well, it was a war Friday night. I mean, it was. I mean, our kids were beat up and banged up, and we were all limping around on Saturday. So I gave the kids off yesterday. We just did some film work. Came back today, did some more film work as a team, and did some walkthroughs. And I stressed to them, it's not to take a light situation with Red Level. That's not it at all. It's really more or less to kind of focus on us right now, because our health. And our ability to maintain this level of play is going to be important if we're able to, to sustain and make those playoffs, and so you do have to beat Red Level to get in. You can't lose that football game. So by no means are we saying, chalk that up to a W before we go out there and play, because as you said, hey, anybody on any night can do anything. You saw that a couple of weeks ago with Alabama, and so things like that happen. I do believe that it's a little bit of both of what you said. So yeah, I think it's beneficial in the fact that maybe we feel like we can rest up a little bit more, a couple of days without beating and banging. early on in the week, and maybe be a little bit more cognitive in our preparation this week rather than physical. Um, so I do believe that. But on the flip side of it, at the level of play that you're playing, you kind of want to get you some competition to come out there again and just kind of see if you're still just to keep that blade sharp, keep sharpening that blade, and so it's a little bit of both. But you know what? I'm appreciative that it is the way that it is. I don't think any coach or any team in America can look at a situation and be told, "Hey, man, you control your own destiny. You're in charge right here." Yeah, there's a scenario where McKenzie can lose Friday. I mean, McKenzie can beat Brantley Friday, and if we beat Red Level, we're in. And then we're playing that last game against Elba for just positioning, which matters a lot with who you play, in that first round. But even with that, we're saying to ourselves, "Hey, we want to finish this thing." I don't know when the last time that Florila's won 8 ball games in a regular season. It's been a little while, I think. And so, there's a lot of things I think that this team wants to accomplish. Again, and I don't think it's a cockiness, but I think it's a confidence level where, we believe that we're one of the better teams playing right now, and we want to match up against guys that that are going to be playing for championships. We want to match up against those guys.
You mentioned bumps and bruises. Are there any injuries that would take a football player off of the field Friday night?
No, we don't have any debilitating injuries. Like I said, Gage got smoked pretty good Friday. He's dealing with a pretty good, I think, muscle strain in his scapular area. We got some guys that took some beats and some bangs, and they're limping around a little bit, but we don't have anything that. And like I've told you, we've been blessed all season, man. Good Lord's been good to us, watching out for us. But we don't have any debilitating injuries. Nothing's going to pull us off the football field. And, we're hoping, Friday night that we'll go do business the way we need to and get our guys, off the field, get them some rest and get those young guys on the field. We talked about that today. That's how Brantley got to be Brantley. They were able to handle business in games they should. And the young kids got good, significant, snaps in a quality varsity football game that wasn't just mop up time. And that builds the program right there because kids get that kind of experience. And so, we've had an opportunity 2 or 3 times this year to get our young guys in and let them get good quality game experience. And, we're hoping that may be an opportunity again Friday night.
Coach, again, congratulations on the big win over Brantley. Pretty soon, I expect them to start building that Kyle Davis statue outside of the stadium. It was huge, not only for you and the school, but as I mentioned, for the community too. Good luck against Red Level, and let's talk a week from now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it, man.